also lies in the hands of the new relationship we need to build with the African diaspora, to solicit with them to bring in their expertise, their experience, their resources to complement what we have. And that is what I want to share and also say. Let's make the visit to Africa a pilgrimage experience. At least once in your lifetime, take the journey down to the motherland. That is where you find a rare peace. That is where you see a lot of people who looks like you. That is where you see walking very freely on the street. No police stopping you. No brutality. You can party from 6 a.m. to 6 a.m. Nobody will bother you. So it's about a time. And let's make this journey a great one. This is the time you need to think about taking a trip to the motherland. And when I say the motherland, please start your journey from Ghana. I'm saying Ghana because Ghana for us is a gateway to Africa for the African diaspora. Ghana is an English speaking, and when Europeans made it to Africa, and the whole enclave of our coast was divided into three. We have the Ivory Coast, that is where they were getting all their ivory. Somewhere Guinea, Senegal, down to the present day Ivory Coast. Then we have the Gold Coast, which was Ghana, where they got all their gold. Then we have the Slave Coast, that is Togo, Benin, part of Nigeria, down to Angola. So, but the British used Ghana as their headquarters, and every European were sending their enslaved Africans to their colony in the New World. So in America, we talk about maybe New York, Maryland, Virginia, all of these places were British end of America. So and Ghana was the headquarters for all the British operations in West Africa. So most African Americans in America today probably may have, their ancestors may have passed through one of the door of no return in Ghana. So Ghana played a major role, and Ghana is also the only country in West Africa that still have and preserve, and you can actually see the fortress of the slave dungeons. They call it castle, but I call it slave dungeon, because what happened there doesn't befit the statutes to be called a castle, the slave dungeon. They have 3 standing, existing slave dungeon, which people can take a tour to. The closest to this is what we have in the Glory Island in Senegal. Even that one, most of the house is gone. So Ghana play a major role. So if you're an African American, African diaspora, and you are thinking, reconnecting, going back to the motherland, start with Ghana. Ghana is English speaking, very friendly. Our hospitality is very much unquestionable. We have great food, and our people are so ever ready to give you a helping hand. So start with Ghana, and if you are starting with Ghana, then you should start with Torchlight Tours. We have a huge love for the African diaspora. Almost 90% of our clientele base are African Americans, and we believe in reconnecting them with their ancestral roots and having them go through all the meaningful rituals to give them an unforgettable experience to the motherland. And we are very much happy to connect with our big brother, Jeffrey, and this August we are starting a new movement which is going to send a lot of our brothers and sisters to the motherland to celebrate Dubois and also take the opportunity to visit tour, which will bring about the highlights I gave earlier to reconcile, to reconnect, and reinvest. As you take a trip to the motherland, you are investing in the motherland. And that is what we are calling for. It's about a time you take a trip to the motherland, Torchlight Tours, together with our big brother Jeffrey. We have a special package, and we are starting from this August, and subsequently we plan to do it often, and the main highlight is going to be pilgrimage in service. So you are taking a pilgrimage journey, and you will not just go to see reconnect, but also leave some positive footprint, legacies behind in terms of taking a service, in terms of volunteer in a little village, donating few staff. This is about a time we need to look out for ourselves. And there are a lot of things probably you may take it for granted here, but in Africa it's a huge deal. You will see a lot of kids even with that school bags. And I've seen kids here who have several different types of school bags. One school bag goes a long way to influence education of a child in Africa. And maybe in America you may take it for granted, but in Africa that will go a long way to change your life. So thank you all so much. I'm David for my big brother to continue.
Thank you. Great words. Many have asked me what put me on this path to even visit Ghana for the first time anyway. My mother and I were supposed to go back in 2019, but of course, pandemic stopped us from going. And by the time the pandemic was lifted, she was not in good enough shape to go. She had cancer. So I never forget, I went to Colorado to visit her, and I was sitting at her bedside, and she said, well, I can't go to check on my grandfather's final resting place. Promise me that you will. So that's an emotional part. I gave my mother a promise, so that's what started me to going, gave me the incentive to go. And so once I went, I met Jafeta Yika, which is the CEO of the museum foundation there. Next, I ended up being asked to join the museum foundation, and now I'm on the executive board for the museum foundation. And it's not only do I get to fulfill the obligation and the promise I gave my mother, but I get to help make decisions on this new museum that we're going to build. It's going to be world class. Wow. There will be holograms of Dubois throughout this museum, and his voice you will hear as you walk through the museum. And he will quote certain things as you walk through, and he'll talk about his vision for us as a people to come back to the motherland. And so as I think about that, it just puts goosebumps on my arms. I I just don't know what to say otherwise. How excited I am to see this happen, and I think it's slated to be finished in 2028. Uh, in June next month, I'm supposed to go there for a celebration of the museum when it was started by one of the presidents, President Jerry John Rawlins. So they're having a celebration on the 22nd to salute him for starting the museum. And then I get to meet the new president, I believe it's President Mahama.
John Dramani Mahama.
Yes. And so I'm excited about that because I met the last president. The unfortunate thing is that all of the agreements that we made with the previous administration kind of got thrown out the window now that they have new leadership. So we kind of have to start over again with, you know, what we'd like to see happen and how long we'd like to see it maintained. And there's a whole lot more to this picture than most people know when it comes to building a world-class museum in another country and making agreements to who will get what as far as profits and whatnot. So all I can say is I'm sitting back, looking forward to meeting with the president and talking about what the goals are and what I would like to see happen. What I told the last president is that I would like to see great representation of my great-grandmother, because my great-grandfather married Shirley Graham after my great-grandmother passed away. And so she was the person that was with him from, say, his early 80s through his death at 95 in 1963 on August 27th, which is the night before the MLK March on Washington. So as God would have it, he passed away the night before, and when the March on Washington happened, they didn't say W.E.B. Dubois passed away. They said the old man passed away, and that's all they had to say. Everybody knew what that meant. And then next thing you know, Malcolm X is in Ghana. So there was a chain reaction of things that occurred from his passing. And many historians talk about he was born in 1868, 3 years after slavery ended. And so he saw that transition all the way up to about the time we could vote. And so he saw this 95 years of what he called Reconstruction. But his disappointment is that in that 95 years, he didn't see the advancements that he really truly expected through education and communication with public officials in other countries. I share his disappointment today as I watch so much work being destroyed by this administration. And if you're not an African American, you may not be hurt by it as much, but I think everybody should be angry because we're all in this together. As a country, we're stronger if we all stand together as a melting pot of so many different races and backgrounds. That's what makes America special. But now there are powers to be that want to make America not great again, but white again. And I don't have any problems with white people. I have problems with white supremacists, people that believe they're better and smarter and superior to others. That's where the problem really lies, and that was Dubois's problem. I share his feelings. All people are created equal, and if people are reading their Bible, they know that's what the truth is. And so it is a tough conversation to have with people that just don't really want to listen. And as Du Bois would say, it's not so much not knowing It's more so not caring. How do you make people care? You know, how do you make people want to love one another? Uh, and there's so many people around the world that call themselves Christian and God fearing, but yet their actions say something totally different. They're working hard to make richer people richer, or rich people richer, and they're working hard to make poor people poor. And when Jesus was on the earth, it seemed like his main goal was to help those who were in need and stand with those who were going through trials and tribulations, and let them know that he was the truth, the light, and the way. And so maybe in this generation, many people have walked away from their Bibles and their Christian beliefs, and they have become worldly. And I don't know if that means we're going to be walking around for 40 years trying to find him again, like our predecessors. But I hope that at some point we wake up and realize that all the work, all the deaths, all the sacrifices that those that came before us is being threatened. And I don't particularly want to be bitten by dogs or hit by batons or have my house burned down or any of the things that they've already gone through. Why would we go backwards? You know, so I hope that all of Dr. Dubois's work, all of Malcolm X's work, all of W.E.B, all of Martin Luther King's work, all of Booker T. Washington's work, all of Ida B. Wells's work, all of Harriet Tubman's work, all of those that came before us that put their lives on the line for us. I hope that all that work is not erased and taken for granted. As I learn about all this history and as I travel to all the places where the names of the people I just mentioned have walked and done so much, I become way more appreciative of the sacrifices than I was before I walked behind them. And that's why it's so important that we should go to Africa and walk behind those that came before us, learn about where we came from. And I think our appreciation level will be increased dramatically. That's what's in my heart to tell you today is please don't sleep on all that those have done before us. Please come together. And whatever differences any of us have with one another, it's time to forget, forgive, and move forward and become one. And we will be strong. We will be triumphant. We will have everything God intended for us to have if we do just that. Come together, put God first, and pray together and stay together.
Thank you, Mr. Jeffrey. You know, that's such a wonderful conversation to our listening audience, and you provided so much history and even religion and so much insight. We do have Miss Helen Johnson here. She's the historian for the Black Heritage Society. So I know we're running out of time, but we got another 15 minutes, Miss Johnson. If you don't mind just wrapping it up for the Black Heritage for our listening audience, there, so that we can just kind of summarize. And with Mr. Jeffrey Peck, he gave us so much information, and I mean, you hit a lot of hard points there in that conversation. So how do we rebuttal, Ms. Johnson, so that our listening audience, as we push forward Dr. Martin Luther King dream, that we're not judged according to we're judged according to our content of our character, not the color of our skin. Can you elaborate and give us more insight on what Mr. Peck was referring to, ma'am?
Well, first I have to get over the elation just to be here in the presence of the great grandson of W.E.B. Dubois. And it's just an honor just to see him and hear him talk about his great grandfather and his achievements, and then to make it even more enjoyable and appealing to have someone from Africa, from Ghana, to come and welcome us to Ghana. Now, I have to say this. I had my DNA testing done in 2007, and that was by National Geographic, so I got the good one. And I found out that I think it's the mitochondrial DNA, where they go back as far as the oldest grandmother, the mother, you know. And it just so happened that my people came out of Mali, and then they said that Mali, and they migrated to Ga, and I wasn't familiar with these names, Asante, and then they said Ghana. And I said, whoa, wow, I remember reading about Ghana, you know, and Du Bois and Garvey, and wow, and Malcolm X, and I was really excited to know that our people then, we're related. I'm so excited. Now, it was mentioned that when they actually took our people from our homeland, they stripped us of everything, and the young man from Ghana let us know that the name, everything is in the name.
That's right.
Well, those colonizers knew that, and they didn't want us to be able to trace our lineage to the African country. See, they would tell you Africa, and Africa is a continent. But they didn't want you to know which country you came from. They didn't want us to know our culture. They didn't want us to reconnect with who we are, because, you know, they could tell us anything if we didn't know. And then Jeffrey was telling us about the misinformation and the disinformation that's caused the greater separation, and it's also impacted our self-concepts here, because they made Africa a place of where savages were, and where people with cannibals and all kinds of undesirable things. And we were not smart enough to realize, okay, we've seen where the kings, queens, princesses, and all those Europeans are there having safaris and getting married in Africa, and we still have this image that they have given to us and planted in our minds. And Du Bois was talking about the two-ness of the duality of the black people here in America. You know, one side of you is saying, you know, well, I'm here and I'm a proud person, but the other side say, but I don't really know who I am. I don't know where I came from. I don't know what my capabilities really are. And today we have learned Africa is a very, Ghana, countries in Africa are very progressive in many aspects. They have beautiful cities, and the big thing is that they have people in key positions over the government and all of that, over the banks, and the cry here is come back to Africa. Look at what your people have done. Look at where you came from. Look at what you can become. And that's a very strong message. And we're just so grateful to have been here and to have witnessed this for ourselves. And we can't wait to get tours to Africa now. And then bringing it back to, like, I talked to a lot of my friends, you know, naturally. My dad was a pastor, and his dad was a pastor, goes on. And somewhere they said, near the 400, after 400 years, at the end of the 400 years of slavery, you will know who you are. There is, so we're nearing this 400 years. And we are going, and then you're coming with information from Africa. And we're beginning to realize that there is the opportunity for us to know the true story, our true history. And it's already prophesied. It's there in the Bible. And it says that Ethiopia shall rise. And we're looking at Ethiopia. Ethiopia was all the black country, that's what they call Ethiopia.
Yeah.
And so we see the black countries coming together. We're seeing that now, right now. And Ethiopia shall rise. And people know this. The ones that are persons are aware of this, and that's why they are scared. They are afraid of what will happen when we find out who we really are, when they find out how powerful we are, when they found out that they have really distorted our history to make them look superior, to make them look better, but they are not remembering what Benjamin Franklin had said. He said, I'm looking at certain Europeans and they're not white folk. And they think they're white folk, but they're swarthy. And he said, and the French, and I'm looking at those Swedes, and I'm looking at the Italians, I'm looking at the Spanish, and I'm looking at Italians, and they are not white people. That's what Benjamin Franklin said. So they're talking about us, but the founding fathers didn't intend for them to be here either. Join all of this. And the very ones that are so aggressively harsh and racist toward us are the ones that came from those areas